Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, and I am so excited today because I have more Ancestry DNA results to share. Not only did I take the test, but my parents took it, my sibling took it, my nephew took it, and my aunt took it. And so today's video, I want to go in and compare my Ancestry DNA ethnicity makeup to theirs. That even though a parent took a test or a sibling may have taken a test, I may not have received the same ethnic results. So I want to dive into those to see and compare and contrast what their results are to mine. And I just want to say thank you to all the people who have viewed and commented on my Ancestry DNA results video. It's still kind of a shock, you know, just to see your ethnic makeup and to see where you come from. It's really cool. I mean, I can't lie. It is really cool to see. So thank you for your comments. And if you haven't seen those videos, go ahead and pause this video right now, open up a new tab, and I'll link all of my videos in the description box down below. The first video talks about the entire process. So if you're thinking about taking the Ancestry DNA test, the whole process is there, from me ordering and opening the box to taking the test, what comes in the kit, how do you do it. That's the first video. The second video is us actually getting our results. And by us, I mean my husband and I, Kevin and I, we both took the test together and we both got the results at the same time. So if you want to see what our makeup is, definitely check that video out. So once you're done seeing those two videos, jump back over and continue watching so we can get into my family's comparison. All right, let me go to my computer right now and let's see what exactly we have going on. All right, I'm gonna put you guys down here. All right, I think that looks good. I also have my laptop with me, so I'm gonna pull up the results so we can get the comparison going. What's interesting to note, and what I've learned throughout this process, is just because you have a sibling, parent, a relative, doesn't mean you guys are gonna have the same ethnic makeup. I previously thought that, hey, my sister took the test, why on earth would I take the test? Isn't my result the same as hers, more or less? And quite honestly, that may not be the case. We share some of our ethnic makeup, but really it could be completely different. So we get half of our DNA makeup from our mom and half of our DNA makeup from our dad. But that doesn't mean that our ethnic makeup is going to be the same, because each person has a different cocktail. And I explained that in the second video that I made. And what's passed down from one parent may not be necessarily passed down to their sibling, and what's passed down from a grandparent may not be a trait that's passed down to a parent, which may not be passed down to us. But sometimes traits can kind of skip generations. It's really up to God. So I'm really curious to see how all of our DNA cocktails kind of mix up. And what's also interesting to note is that, so as you keep testing the older generations, you learn more and more about your ethnic makeup. So hey, if your grandparents are living, and if they even want to participate, that's a whole different story, then consider getting them tested, and that'll give you more of a complete picture of where your traits come from. But okay, enough of my rant, let's get into the DNA. So I'm logging into Ancestry DNA now, and it takes me to my home page. And as a refresher, my ethnic makeup, boom, I've got kind of like all these parts of the world on lock in different percentages. You can check out the last video to go see kind of everything that I'm made up of. So I can tell by this map already that my parents are gonna have to have some combination of this, right? Like, I don't get this from anywhere. My parents are gonna have some of this, but what exactly, I don't know. Let's find out. So these are my mom's results, and it tells us right off the bat that, hey, look, based on your DNA, look, this person is either your parent or your child. You are closely related. And it tells us that we have 3,372 centimorgans matching. And essentially, the higher the number, the closer the relationship is. So we have a lot, and this lets us know, boom, 100%. There is no denying. My mom cannot deny me. No denying that this is my mom based on the DNA. As we dive deeper into the ethnicity bundle, this is how my mom and I match up. So it's interesting because, look, I have 43% Nigerian and she only has 19%. So that kind of lets me know that, hey, maybe I didn't inherit as much of my Nigerian traits as from my mom as I did from my dad. I don't know. We gotta go find out. We have about the same 19 to 17 for Cameroon, Congo, Southern Bantu. Boom, we've got the exact same percentage of England, Wales, and Northwestern Europe. So that kind of tells me, all right, I probably inherited all those traits from my mom. Benin and Togo, our numbers are quite different, 4 to 12. And the indigenous Americas, Mexico, I have 4% and she has 9%. You know, maybe for these two categories, including Senegal, maybe I inherited some of those from her. Again, I inherited half my traits from my mom and half from my dad. So, okay, this kind of makes sense to me. Now, Ireland and Scotland, I didn't inherit that much from my mom. Only 3, I have 3% and she's got a full 13. I didn't get that from my mama. Around Norway, 2 to 1, but I have got a little bit more than she does, so I've got to inherit a little bit extra from maybe my dad. I don't know, let's find out. And Ghana, the same thing, I'm 1% and she's 3%. So if you go down to like this section, it gets interesting. All of these traits, she's got none of. So I didn't inherit any Germanic Europe, indigenous Haiti and Dominican Republic, or the indigenous Americas and the Andes, or Southern and Eastern African hunter-gatherers from her, because she's got no trace of that. So that's interesting. So gotta check my dad for sure. And at the same time, even though she's my mama, I did not inherit not a single lick of these traits from her. And look at this, 4% France. You know, I was wondering, in addition, like I was wondering, I mean, maybe this is maybe where the 4% my mom inherited. Maybe this is maybe where my French name came from, Antoinette. This kind of clues me into something in our family history. But Spain at 1%, Sardinia 1%. Indigenous Americas North and the Yucatan Peninsula 1%. I didn't inherit any of these, but she's got some, so that lets me know, hey, look, somewhere along my family history, somebody came from France in that region, and for some of these other regions, maybe further removed. And as we look at our charts here, I love these visuals, you know, and I zoom in, I am all of the teal areas. I share the green areas with my mom, and the yellow is just straight up my mom. And so my mom's got these yellow regions that I don't have, and together we share all the green regions. So pretty interesting. It seems like we share, of course, we're gonna share some traits, but again, her ethnic makeup is slightly different than mine. So if we compare the top 5 estimates from my mom's ethnic traits to my ethnic DNA traits, it looks like for me, my top 5 are 43% Nigeria, 19% Cameroon, Congo, and Southern Bantu peoples, 7% England, Wales, and Northwestern Europe. And then we pop down to here at 7% Germanic Europe, and then we have tied for our 5th trait, Benin, Togo, Indigenous Americas, and Senegal. Whereas my mom actually has, her top 5 ethnicities are Nigerian at 19%, Cameroon, Congo, and Southern Bantu peoples, that's the same as me, 13% Ireland and Scotland, followed by 12% Benin and Togo, and then she ends it off with 9% Indigenous Americas, Mexico. So boom, like right off the bat, you see that our top 5 ethnicities aren't the same. Our top 2 are the same, but our top 5 are different, and that's my mama, y'all. So now let's get into my dad. What's going on with my dad? So once we click on my dad's traits, we can see right off the bat here, boom, look at this, would you? So look, y'all, that's where I get it from. I get it from my daddy. My dad is 50% Nigerian. Whoa, that is so cool. My dad is half Nigerian, y'all. Like, I gotta go to Nigeria. Like, if you guys have been to Nigeria or you're from Nigeria, comment down below. I gotta go to Nigeria and see what's going on. I inherited 43% of that from my dad. If we go back to my mom, look, my mom only had 19% Nigerian, but my dad has a full 50%. My dad is half Nigerian. That is crazy. He's got 24% Cameroon, Congo, and Bantu. He only has 4% England, Wales, and Northwestern Europe, whereas I have 7%. So I'm assuming when I go back to my mom's, my mom and I both have 7%, so I'm definitely getting a lot of that from my mom too. Now, my dad doesn't have that much Germanic Europe, but I have 7%. He's got 10% benign in Togo. I have 4%. He's got 2% Senegal. I have 4. Our Mali numbers match up, so I definitely inherit some traits from Mali from him. I inherited a little bit more Ireland and Scotland than he has. He's got 1%. Again, going back to my mom. My mom's got a full 13% Ireland and Scotland, so I'm assuming I get most of that from her. And then he's got 2% Ghana, and I have 1%. That makes sense too. But here we go again. My dad did not inherit any of these traits, but I did. The indigenous Americas, Mexico, we saw my mom had a 9%. I have 2% Norway, 1% Haiti, Dominican, 1% Andes, and 1% Eastern and Southern Africa hunter-gatherers. And so my dad didn't get any of that, y'all, at all. But he has 2% Sweden, and I didn't get any 2% Sweden, not at all. And I don't think my mom had anything from Sweden. Yeah, Sweden's not even on her list, but my dad has 2%. So that kind of lets me know, some grandparent or great-great-great-great-grandparent, somebody had to have been from that region in order for him to inherit that. So this is really, really cool. His top 5 traits are Nigeria, clearly right off the bat, Cameroon, Congo, and Southern Bantu peoples. Then he's got Benin and Togo as his 3rd highest. And then from there, we go to England, Wales, and Northwestern Europe. And then the final percentage in his top 5 is from Mali. So my dad is made up of different ethnicities in Africa for the majority of his ethnicity estimate, which is really cool. If we go back over to the map, I'm all alone over here, Dad. I'm all alone and up here. But we share all the green areas, so we definitely have a strong connection to those countries in Africa, and a couple in the European region, but for the most part, it's pretty strong here. What I discovered in the DNA matches is if you go on shared matches, you can actually see with all of your relatives, if you have relatives that have taken the test, which side you inherit these traits from. So when I click on shared matches, it lets me know that for, look, my sister, we share both sides of our DNA. For my nephew, we share both sides. But for these cousins, look, it says that this is from your father's side. It can actually tell you whether it's from your father's side or your mother's side. Comment down below, is this not crazy? Like, is this not like mind-blowing to you all? Have you taken the Ancestry DNA test? Has your family members taken? How does your test compare to theirs if you've taken it, or have you thought about having your parents take it? I don't know. This is kind of like, whoa. We just finished seeing both my parents. Now let's take a look at my sister. So just because we're siblings doesn't mean we're gonna have the exact same ethnic makeup, and you can see clearly here I have almost 10%, 9% more Nigerian than my sister does. She's got about 11% more Cameroon, Congo, or Southern Bantu peoples. I inherited more Germanic Europe. I inherited definitely most England, Wales, and Northwestern Europe, just kind of like my mom that I figured. But look at hers. If we scroll down to the rest, we're pretty much the same on all these accounts. But she inherited way more of these Ireland and Scotland roots. And as we go back to my dad only had 1%. And so my sister has 12%. When we go back to my mom's the one that had the 13% Ireland and Scotland. So she definitely inherited almost all of that from my mom, whereas I only got 3%, and we are siblings. We are from the same womb, y'all. I got a small percentage of these areas, and she did not. We have a lot more shared results, which makes sense, but again, I've got some outliers that she doesn't have. What about my nephew? My sister's son took the test, and so let's go ahead and compare and contrast to mine. He should have technically inherited about 25% of our ethnic makeup. So when we click on my nephew, it lets us know that, boom, this guy is like super close family. Like maybe it's a first cousin. You know, when we click on our shared DNA, it says, hey, he is 99% either grandparent, grandchild, half-sibling, aunt, uncle, or a niece and nephew. And that is correct. He is, in fact, my nephew. 99% of the time, But of course, you know, hey, there could be other possible sources, but in this case, it is true. Because he's younger down the line, he gets half from my sister, and he gets a quarter from my parents, which would be his grandparents. So with that quarter of the traits that he got from my parents, how do we stack up? How does this ancestry compare to a nephew, or once removed, one generation down? He's got 18% of Nigerian traits passed down, and a strong 16% Cameroon, Congo, and Southern Bantu peoples. Compared to his mom, my sister, has 30%. So he more than likely got a nice chunk of change from there. He's got 24% in England, Wales, and Northwestern Europe. And again, his percentage is pretty high compared to my sister's, which is only 1%, and compared to mine, which is only 7%. So he still gets half from my sister and half from his father. So that makes sense totally there. We've got the same amount of Benin and Togo traits, similar Senegal traits, 2% versus 4%. He's got a little bit more of the Ireland, Scotland. Again, my mom's Ireland and Scotland traits are being passed down pretty strongly. Same thing with Nigerian from my dad. Those traits are pretty, in Cameroon, Congo, those traits are pretty solid. And so that's my nephew. But finally, let's go into my aunt. Let's see how my aunt compares. So when I click on hers, this lets us know that, hey, look, we don't share as many centimorgans. Only 744 centimorgans are shared across 37 segments. But there's an 87% chance that this is she's either a first cousin, a great-grandparent, great-grandchild, great-uncle. Our ethnicity estimates are definitely going to be a little bit different, but there's also kind of some similarities here too. Like, she didn't inherit as much here for Nigeria. She has a bit more Cameroon, Congo, and Southern Bantu peoples. We have close to the same amount of England, Wales. Similar Benin and Togo, 4% and 6%. Very close Senegal. I've got more indigenous Americas Mexico than she does, but hers is still present. Mali, she's got 13% Mali. That's something that I didn't really inherit a lot of Mali traits. She didn't inherit a lot of Ireland and Scotland, whereas I've got about 3%, so that's not terribly off. She has a little bit more Norway, and I've got 2% Norway, so maybe out of all my folks, my mom got 1% Norway, my dad received 0 Norway, my sister received 1% Norway, nephew received 2% Norway. We were actually the same there, and my aunt has 3% Norway, so the number is going up a little bit. So I'm guessing that my grandma, which is my aunt and my mom's mother, someone from that line is probably from Norway. We have the same amount of Ghana, and here I am in this little teeny part of indigenous America all by myself. So someone's got to have some roots there too. So we learned that, hey, if you have a parent or a grandparent tested, that they can give you more insight into your ethnic makeup. We also learned that just because you have a sibling doesn't mean that your DNA results are going to be the same. You inherited the same amount, 50% of DNA traits from your mother and father, but your ethnic makeup could still vary. And third, we learned that if you have an aunt, an uncle, or some type of cousin, that their DNA results can give you more insight. Quite honestly, if you're thinking about, hey, I'm not going to get tested because I had a sibling tested and I'm pretty much the same, or I don't really need to get it, or, should I actually get tested? I say it's completely up to you. I think the results are very interesting. Again, my sister and I don't have the exact same results. We've got different ethnic makeup. Same thing with my parents. I found out my dad was half Nigerian. That's crazy. And he didn't even know he was half Nigerian. That's insane. So as an African American in the United States, there's so much history out there that is to be discovered. And DNA is just one tool that can help me rediscover, I guess, where I'm truly from, And I think that's really cool and valuable. I'm finally piecing this thing together. I'm finally working things out. And it makes me feel good, you know, gives me a sense of identity, and it makes me, you know, it makes me want to travel more. Now that I know my ethnic makeup, I want to travel to these places and say, you know, and see like, hey, do I look like you? Do I look like you? Do I have traits from you? What did I pick up kind of naturally that is inherent in some of these cultures and these different places? So I definitely want to travel to Nigeria. I definitely want to see if I can go to Cameroon or the Congo and the Southern Bantu peoples. Where y'all at? I want to see who you are and what you're about. What's your culture like? Like, I really want to know. It's like I have a whole new like perspective on, hey, you know, my ancestors walked here and they lived here and they, you know, survived, and then down hundreds of years down the line, here I am. And so that gives me a new sense of kind of pride and purpose for when I travel. And I just look forward to traveling more again whenever we can, whenever this whole thing is lifted, or there's vaccines or whatever. Whenever we're able to travel again, I look forward to traveling to these places and learning more about the culture and the people. And that's kind of the whole reason I wanted to do this, was to just share that, especially as an African American person, like, you may not know where your ethnic makeup is, but there are ways that you can kind of find out and then kind of piece things in the puzzle right now. My sister is actually doing a whole complete like DNA family tree based off of these Ancestry DNA results, and it's just been so fascinating to see where our people came from, the stuff that they went through, even their occupations. There's been a lot of kind of like independent business owners and stuff in our family, and that's kind of where I get my really strong independent streak from, you know, this kind of drive to kind of explore and to go, and that's being revealed as she continues to research our family history. And it all started from a DNA test, and that is insane. Woo! I love reading all of your comments. So what do you guys think about this family comparison? Like, isn't it crazy? Like, my dad's half Nigerian and I inherited a lot of my traits from him. My mom has got that 4% France, which, hey, I thought I may have had some French connection, but my ethnicity makeup didn't show it. Hers did, so I learned some things there. Is this not the craziest thing, y'all? Like, seriously, like, comment down below, like, have you taken the test? And if you're thinking about taking the test, if you're thinking, you know, my sibling took it, maybe, you know, why should I take it? Or if you're thinking, you know, hey, maybe I should take it or not, whatever. Hey, if you're thinking about taking it, I just say go ahead and do it. There are ways that you can get discounts. I talked about that in my last video. See where it takes you. Hey, where is my ethnic makeup? Where am I from? What am I made up of? I think that is valuable all in itself. So give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to click subscribe to my channel, because I love making videos on travel, food, and lifestyle. And this is a perfect example of travel and lifestyle coming together to form me, to form who I am. Stay tuned, stay subscribed, click that notification bell, because once we're able to travel, y'all, I'm gonna go to some places. You don't want to miss it. And yeah, so this is crazy, y'all. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. Bye.